All right, so hi guys. My voice is gone because I'm recording this on the second, which was the day after Anime Impulse 2021, and which keeps throwing me off. I keep wanting to say 2020, but we know how 2020 happened. So, a little preface before I go into detail here. I did take my notes. I have my little paper ASMR here, but I'm going to be talking about some things that they're pretty serious issues, and I really do not like the fact that I have to censor myself, because if I don't, YouTube literally does what they do and they suppress videos. This is a fact. It's not me like complaining about views or anything. I want people to see this so they know and they're prepared, because it's serious issues, and I'm going to have photos to prove my point throughout. So if you've been here a while, I use little or dings to notify people to hey, I have something on screen that isn't just my artwork in the background, which I also have no idea what I'm going to pick for the background. I have a lot of background footage, so it has nothing to do with the con itself. But another reason why I'm here is I'm actually conflicted, because overall I had probably the most amazing time at a con that I've ever had. That being said, there were such extreme security issues that I can't just be like, well, this con was amazing and great and I loved it, because I did love it. I had a great time, but there were very serious issues, which I will get into later on in this video. Because I am conflicted, because I genuinely want to go back next year, but I also want to go back knowing they changed things. So I live in California, and our restrictions and regulations have been some of the strongest. I know some people must be like, what? But they really were. It was really bad during Six Spiky Round Boy, to the point where I had a neighbor ticketed for when the mask mandate was very extreme, for literally going across the street to the gas station to get some milk, and she was taking her mask off while entering our apartment complex building, which is an open air building. It's gated, but it's open air. And there were things where we actually had, at least in my area, this is what I'm saying, because there were some places that were regulations who, and then there were others that were like where I was, where we had police officers parked out at parks, so people literally couldn't go to walking parks or parks to get exercise. So same thing with stores and fast food. Pretty much, if you wanted to leave your house in my area, you left to go get fast food or the grocery store. There were not a lot of places open for quite a long time. The reason why I bring this up, and it is very important, is I live really close to two very famous theme parks that live in my state. And because there have been whispers of another lockdown happening, I say whispers because they're talking about it, but I genuinely don't think it's going to happen. It should, because there is a new strain of Six Spiky Round Boy running around. And while me and my husband are vaccinated, and almost all of my friends and loved ones are vaccinated, there are still loved ones and family members of mine that are still high risk, even with the vaccinations. So after this con and what happened, I am self-quarantining for 2 weeks. So I'm really not going to leave my apartment unless I have to. So my vlogs are going to be a little boring. But I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I think it's a really important, explanation of this. Because it is... I'm just going to start with day one. I'm going to start with day one for me, which was day 0 setup day. So we were told... Now, we got the Artist Alley map as a vendor. We got the map quite a while ago. It's where I was able to post up my little picture and stuff like that and put it in the community post. So I already knew there were going to be a lot of artists in this convention, and I was very excited about that. I was. I have done now 5 conventions, with this convention being my 5th, and this is my 2nd solo con, where I did it where I was tabling, I had a table buddy, but where I had my own table. And so I used to have a pipe display, like a lot of people do. And when me and my neighbor Tiffany, she's the one who was the 200 Chibis video collaborator with, she came with me to set up on day 0. And the moment we went in, we didn't have that much trouble, but we were unloading our car in the unload area, and the security, which I have a whole note on because I have a lot of opinions about the security of this convention. Got our badges, we got everything good, we were going to our tables, and we found, and here's where I will put a picture, that our tables were so sandwiched together. We were literally back to back with other artists. Honest to God, I believe the only reason myself and Cody and my cross table partners, like the table across from me or behind me, my neighbor Tiffany and her across partners, were literally because I was in a corner and so was the person right behind me. So we were able to angle our chairs at weird ways because, hi, if you're new here, myself and my husband, who was my table buddy for the last 2 days, we're big people. We're big people. I've never said we weren't big people. And so because of that, if we hadn't have been able to move our chairs, I genuinely don't know how I would have been able to get my prints. I've seen people who weren't able to get their prints. I had to throw away my piping setup on the first day because it literally couldn't go on my table, which gave me a whole new fear because that means that the night before day 1, I had to see if I even had enough supplies to have a table set up. I'm going to be changing up my table setup again for my next con. I will not be doing any more cons in 2021. Keyword, maybe I might be helping my friend's booth at San Japan this year. Very, very low, maybe. Like, it's literally if my friend gets in. And then I might be helping them with their booth, but I won't be selling myself. Now, with that, though, my other table, my friend Tiffany, my neighbor, she was lucky enough to have everything set up on her table, but we literally had to cut and break the staples so she could put her table clamps on her table. You know, the table clamps to keep her display. And so this was all on day 1 of day 0. So when we were finishing that and we were going out to get more stuff from the car, the security ran up and pretty much told us we had to go or pay for parking. We were not allowed to stay in the loading bay and set up for the con for setup day on day 0, when we were told in the emails and in the packet that we had from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. all day to set up. They were literally kicking people out within 30 minutes if you did not pay the $10 parking. So on day 0, we had to pay for parking. Now, before anybody complains and yells, paying for conventions, especially if you are Artist Alley, I hate being that person. It's pretty common. Not for setup day. Usually not on setup day unless you literally have to park like across the street or at a hotel or something. You don't usually have to pay for parking on the first day, or they'll give you a voucher. They did not do that for any of the artists. So literally to set up, we had to pay parking on that day. The parking wasn't that bad because it wasn't Ontario. It wasn't in LA, but I know that LA cons, the parking can anywhere between $20 to $30 a day. So keep that in mind. And so after doing that, I had to quickly renovate things. And then I'm going to go into the security issue now, and then I'm going to go into day 1, day 2, and day 3, like, of the actual con here. Because this is also my first 3-day con by myself. So the reason why the security have their own note is because, oh my god, the security was terrible. They were terrible in the sense that I don't even know how to describe this because it doesn't make sense to me, but it's literally what was happening. They were so strict for some reason about outside food than anything else. And I wholeheartedly mean that. On the first day, on day 1, my friend was getting us coffee and donuts. You know, and they literally would not let him in the hall. They would not let him inside the convention because of the fact that he had food. And that was the only reason. Wasn't just him, it wasn't just Artist Alley, it was vendors. A person came in and told me that there was a snacks booth. Their whole booth in the vending hall was that they sell one of those snack subscription sites. I don't know which one it was, but literally they were fighting with the people who bought a booth to sell their snacks. They couldn't bring their food in because it was outside food. And they had to get the management of the con, and the con was fighting with them. And it must be like, wow, you said you're a bigger person. That's a big complaint. No, I literally mean this. There were food trucks outside. You were not allowed to bring it in. We artists at Artist Alley and a lot of vendors, we had to literally hardcore sneak in our food because I heard on day 1, I don't know if they did it on day 2 or day 3, because the occupation was oversold. They were doing bag checks. But here's where I mean by I don't understand. There were no weapons tags. If you've been to any con ever, you see cosplayers. When you see cosplayers, every con I've ever been to, you will usually see them with like a bright orange or yellow tag somewhere on their cosplay. Usually it's something that they can easily break off so it won't hurt the thing. But it's to tell people, hey, this isn't a real weapon. None of those were going on. They weren't zip tying anything. People were buying swords in the vendor's hall, and the vendor's hall security were not enforcing them to keep their actual swords in their boxes. And this is why I don't understand what was going on with security, because they were such sticklers about food and times. And when they closed off the back bay for vendors in Artist Alley, they were not letting artists or vendors cut lines to get in to sell their wares. There was an artist, the person right behind me, actually, the one I was becoming friends with, was stuck in the normal person line on day 1. No, day 2. It was day 2. They were stuck in the line, and they were 3 hours late to Artist Alley because they would not let them in. They had their badges. They were set up. They wouldn't let them in. They made them stay in the normal person line. But they weren't doing weapons checks. And here's what else I'm talking about. The lights in Artist Alley. Now, I don't know about the vendor's hall. So I was in Artist Alley the entire time due to our cramped, not regulated spaces. And so because of that, I literally only went to the bathroom once, one of which I was told I wasn't allowed to use the staff bathroom because I wasn't actually staff of the convention. I was just an artist. So I had to go to the normal public bathroom, which was fine. I didn't care, but it was all the way at the other end of Artist Alley. So I was gone for about 20 minutes just to go pee and come back to find out that, yeah, no one's actually guarding the staff bathroom. So we just started doing that one instead. Which, you know, that should also be safety regulated, but it wasn't. There were drinking fountains that were locked off for some reason. No one knew why. When they asked the staff and the security, they just said, well, we were told to do it, so it's closed off. But people were breaking into them anyway because they were thirsty and hungry and having to fight with people to bring in their water bottles. And the only food, by the way, the only food inside the hall, inside the entirety of the con, from what I understand, was a single food vendor that was overpriced. They only had Dasani water, and on the first day, on day 1, they sold out of all hot food. My table buddy, my friend John, he was a blessing. Cody couldn't be there on Friday, so he was there for me. He came and he got us food, and he was literally calling us because they ran out of hot food. So he paid about $30 a person for a cheap salad and a bottle of water. Per person. So for that to keep in mind, because if you were to bring any food in, you were not allowed in the hall. You had to eat outside in the California heat. But like I said, weapons checks and security checks and business checks, no, we're just not going to do that. Another thing was the lights were going on and off because apparently I thought this was the con staff messing with us or there was an issue. No, turns out they were Randy's, they were con goers that found their way to do it. They could just do it. That, you know, random people could just turn all the lights off and the air conditioning, but security wasn't monitoring that. So, they just turned the lights out on all of us, and it is literally 11 a.m., and they haven't come back on, and it's been like 5 minutes, and now I'm starting to get worried, because literally they just shut the lights off. So this is what I'm talking about. This is such a severe safety issue, and why I'm conflicted here, because I will be honest, if I didn't have such a good experience talking to people, meeting people, making new friends, and making money, I would have completely written off this con. I probably wouldn't have even gone back on the second day if it wasn't for that for me. There were also artists that had so much stuff and they pre-bought 2 tables and they were given 1, and then they had to shell out extra money to then move to the vendors hall just so they could have literally space to get their stock, which is also something very big and very important to bring up. And so those are a lot of the negatives. There's also, because I cannot prove this, there are also allegedly allegations and screenshots going around of the owner of the con or the manager of the con saying some very horrendous stuff. I've seen the screenshots, but from what I've seen, they were like screenshots of a screenshot. So that's why I'm a little hesitant here. But if they are true, that's also terrible and disgusting and needs to be talked about. But because I didn't know it personally and it was from a pretty sketchy source, I'm being strict here and I'm saying it is alleged and allegations. Nothing illegal, just the person's POS. Nothing like I said, illegal. Just you're a bad person, which is weird for running an anime con. But I mean, not in that. Never mind. I'm already rambling here. But let's talk about the actual artist alley portion of it. So, the tables were this basic 6-foot table. I was able to make a display last minute and have a lot of things go through. However, another thing on the security, here we go, one more thing. Like I said, I am fully vaccinated, but we are currently back within a mask mandate. Out of every cosplayer and person who came to my booth, I would say only 50% were wearing masks, and out of those people, I would say 20 to 30% were wearing masks properly. And so there's that. Honestly, though, to all the cosplayers that went all out and you made a mask matching your cosplay, I love you. Thank you. You're proving it's not that hard. You are the best kind of people, and I loved seeing you at my booth. Thank you. There were a lot of you. But I ended up doing really, really well at this con. This is the best con I ever did. I made a little over $1,300, which for some people must be like, for all that and just $1,300. That is my largest grossing con. My very first con I ever got was, I think I went home with maybe $300 because I made about $500, I believe. But I spent almost all of it on my like vacation and food and merch and stuff. But so you do work your way up slowly with more stock. I've learned a lot more about what I want to have and what I don't want to have for next time. But honestly, what really made it was meeting all of you. I met about 10 of you, I think, that knew me from YouTube throughout the whole con. That was great and amazing, and I'm really happy that I got to meet you guys. There was one person that stood out because she came by a couple times with her mom. I took a picture with her. I kind of wish I had that picture. I totally forgot to ask. It was on like her mother's phone. But I was really happy I got to meet you, and I'm happy that you had a good time. I really love meeting you guys and getting to chit chat and talk for a bit. It's honestly one of the best highlights. Another highlight was the person that was really funny because I was wearing my mask the entire time unless I was literally eating or setting up, but setting up was before the con even started. So, you know, there's that. I was talking to some people, and they were a group of, they were younger people. I don't want to say teenagers, but they could have been, who were just kind of like, when we were talking, like, I know your voice from somewhere. And I'm like, oh, well, I do Twitch and YouTube. And they were like, oh, I watched you. And I'm like, oh, thanks. So that was really cool. I don't know. I thought it was really funny. Just the whole, like, I know that voice. And so that made me feel really, really happy and loved too. But also, hi, if you're new here, I'm obsessed with Identity V or Identity 5, but I like calling it Identity V because Identity 5 for me sounds weird. I know it's the proper way to say the game, but whatever. There were, blessed be, so many cosplayers. I didn't expect to see a single one, and there were so many of you, and I got all the pictures. And these were just the ones that came by my booth. I heard there were way more. There were so many artists doing IDV merch, which also made me really happy. Also, that's another thing. I want to bring this up because I brought this up. This is the first con I've ever had where every single artist I hung out with and talked to, Jesus Christ, they were nice. I know that sounds so, like, weird to say, but almost every single con I've ever had, I have had at least 4 to 5 artists be really rude to me or come up to me and tell me some really rude things. I have had in previous cons, back before I have the current stuff that I have now, they were saying that my prices were too low back when my merch was really low quality, which is why my prices were low. I know, who would have thought if you have low quality of something, you're having a cheap price for it? But I was getting yelled at about that. I was getting yelled at by people to stop explaining like why some stickers are expensive and some aren't, because this one was at Anime Impulse, but I had someone come up to me and be like, you shouldn't have to explain to them what the stickers are. I'm like, they asked. I'm gonna, if somebody comes up to my table and they're like, wow, your stickers are cheap, how come yours are cheap and others aren't? I'm like, oh, mine back then were on cheap sticker paper. I bought it like Michael's, and on cheap ink that I got off like my dad's printer, and I probably cut half of them by hand. So yeah, that's why they're so cheap. Weatherproof, waterproof vinyl, that like really nice soft stuff that can go on like cars and water bottles and stuff. And like now I have a really nice printer and I use really nice paper and I use a really nice sticker cutter. So my stickers are higher priced because they are higher quality now. When I tried explaining that to some of the artists, they were saying that I was underselling them, when I'm like, well, you're selling higher quality stuff. I'm selling stuff that realistically isn't, like, is worth $1, you know? Or I'd have people who came up to me when I was doing buttons. I didn't do any buttons this year, but they were like, your buttons are too cheap for the price that you're, for the size that they are. And I'm like, well, they're really cheap quality. I'm not comfortable selling them for another price. If they were the really nice quality and really nice backings, I would. It's kind of why I didn't do buttons this year, because I was gonna, but then I only have my cheap button maker, which that is something I'm kind of currently be investing in after this con. I'm going to be getting a really nice button maker for myself, so I will have buttons in my shop eventually. It's going to take a month or two, because I'm going to get it from one of those sites so I can get like the bundle. But, because don't do it off Amazon. I learned that the hard way. Anyway, this is what I mean. I've had great experiences with artists, and I do mean that, where like we were friendly, we were great, but every con I've been to, every con I've had people, someone give me some kind of smack or be rude to me or tell me that I was a bad artist or stuff like that. So the fact this is the first con that didn't happen, and that I was able to do trades with people I didn't ask. Other people came up and they're like, oh my god, you do IDV stuff? I'd love to do a trade. And I'm like, holy crap, we can do trades? Heck yeah, I'd love to do a trade. So I got to do some amazing trades with artists. That made me really happy. I got to meet two of these really big IDV artists I follow on Twitter, Otaku Pup, and I think I have your card here. I think it was Night. No, here it is. Mishroom, and Nightly Veal. I'm probably saying your names terribly, and I do apologize. There were more there, but they were the two IDV. There were the couple of They were the 3 IDV artists I knew, and this new one I met, who like we're now Discord buddies, who was really sweet. It was her first con. It was also on her birthday, so I thought that was like a really cool thing. Like, it was her first con ever, and she was one of those people that was nuts and was pressing buttons per order. So to you, honey, salute. I know that must have been really crazy, but really happy for her. But yeah, I was able to like just have fun. I was able to talk to people about stuff I like. My tip jar, my glorious tip jar, and my way of fame into the Genshin Impact community, because I play Genshin Impact on Twitch and stuff, and I also just play it in general, was my beautiful tip jar, which I will have on screen right here, so you can look at my beautiful Help Xiao find his dad. I ended up giving the jar away on the last day. Cody wasn't feeling well on the last day, and he does have work today, the day I'm recording this. So we decided to leave about an hour early. And so a person that came by my booth quite a few times, she was younger, I think she was a teenager, and she was really sweet and fun, and saw we were packing up early. And I'm like, yeah, you know, my husband's working in the morning, he's not feeling too good, so we're just gonna pack up an hour early. But I didn't actually have room in my suitcase, so I was like, do you want the Xiao jar? And this girl, her face lit up. She bought a bunch of stuff for me previously too, on the other days. So she's like, I can just have it? And I'm like, yeah, you can have the jar, go right ahead. It's not that big deal. But making her happy made me happy. I know it's like cliche, but seeing people light up, seeing the beautiful compliments I got. There were so many people who were like, oh my god, I love your artwork, your style's so nice, your coloring's really good. Oh my gosh, I love how you did IDV stuff. I don't know, call me a narcissist, I guess. It really made me happy. It made me like really elated to see just so many like strangers really, really, really like my art. And I know my art's not like bad, so that might sound weird, but just getting it back to back was really nice, especially I haven't talked about it openly, but there's been some stuff going on in my personal life. Like I haven't been sharing on the vlogs and stuff like that. But so it was something I needed, and it made me very happy. And that's what I mean, was the security was so bad that if they were just, I'm not saying, no, how do I word this? I guess keep the same level. Like, okay, that's more what I'm trying to talk about. Like, keep the same, like, energy. If they were as strict about everything else as they were the food and the, like, letting people in thing, I don't think I would be as mad. It's still terrible, and people shouldn't have waited lines, and it is fact that there were people who did faint from heat exhaustion, and ambulances were called. One of my friends, and I will also have that picture on screen, she was waiting in the line to get in for at least 3 hours. I think almost 4. But she did get in. We got the picture. We got to meet her. This is also a long-term fan and buddy of mine and real close buddies with my friend Pastel. This is Grim. We love her. I was so excited to finally just meet her in person. She's also really good friends with my neighbor Tiffany, too. So that was really nice. But we were feeling awful that she was stuck in there. Same with everyone else there. There were people that were coming in droves, and they did oversell the con. This is a fact, for the attendees and Artist Alley. Even though we had that giant room, we should have had more space. They should have let us get space between our tables. But if they had just kept the energy with the lights, with the, you know, the air conditioning. Now, I didn't feel it on our side, but I did hear it was turned off like multiple times on the other side of the Artist Alley, which is terrible because it's California in the heat. Hello. God. But that's what I think would have, I know it sounds dumb to be better, or with the mask mandates too, to be like, oh, hey, you can't, like, okay, da-da-da. It was the weird part about the food that really stuck out to me. And the making artists and vendors, like, have to be in normal lines, and that we didn't get to cut because they clearly weren't checking badges to be like, oh, you're a vendor? Okay, you can just come in. It was like, nope, you're late. We know the con doesn't start for another hour, but you're late, so get in the normal attendee line. We don't care that you're working here and trying to make money and that you need to pay your bills and rent. We don't care. Get in line. And so I really, really want to go back. And I know that's why it's talking negatively about it could blacklist me, because I've heard that happening too. There were a lot of artists that were getting blocked and blacklisted off of Twitter from it. But it's stuff that needs to be said. I'm not going to just sit here on my platform and lie, because then I'd be a hypocrite, you know? While I had one of the most amazing experiences and getting to talk to people and getting to, like, you know, get to know people. I know not a lot of people like booth barnacles and stuff like that, as my friend Vexy says, which I totally understand, especially like if you really, really need to make sales. But I have always liked being able to talk about stuff that makes me happy, because, like, for myself, I have a personal rule of, like, I only sell fan art of stuff I like, you know? If I'm commissioned for something, that's one thing, but I only do it for stuff I know about, so I like talking about it. And because of that, it was fun getting to talk about IDV stuff and headcanons and characters and cosplays and stuff, and talking about how people play their games. And then with Genshin, honestly, another big highlight, another great thing was the fact that I got to see people, like, process my tip jar. I know that sounds really weird, but, like, when I was talking to Genshin cosplayers, I was like, if you like Genshin, do you want to help Zhao find his dad? And a lot of people, like, I saw the gears turning, because people would look at the photo, and it would always, without fail, be like a good, like, 5 seconds. And then, like, either a laugh or a scream or something. And the best part was there were a couple of Genshin cosplayers, I don't remember who they were, but they were like, oh my god, is that off of the TikTok? And yeah, it was. My friend Grim, the same person I was talking about who visited me, they sent me a TikTok of like Zhao's backstory, but with the sad cat memes. And I was like, that's it. That's my tip jar. Gonna just do one of my things where I just edit over a photo and just glory. And it was great and beautiful. So that was another whole part. Was I liked seeing people's reactions and people having fun, and a lot of people who like they were their first cons, and a lot of people who were just really like grateful, you know, to be there. So overall, it's why I'm conflicted on my score, because the management was just awful. Like, I think that's honestly what would have stopped this for me from being a perfect con, was that it was because it was so bad. It was so bad. And then again, this is allegedly because I didn't see it, but and there were no photos from what I have found to prove it, but there were rumors that because a lot of us had to hide our food because, you know, we couldn't literally bring in food, that there were roaches getting into some artist merch. And that is a rumor that I feel like I do need to at least share. Again, it is a rumor. If there are photos online or you were an artist that did find the roaches, please like let me know, comment down below. I would love to know. But I literally, I just heard it as hearsay. And the reason why I bring that up is because there were people that were just blatantly telling lies on Twitter. Like, it wasn't great. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, they're over-exaggerating. But there were some that were extreme over-exaggerations. Like, from what I saw being there, people were like, there was a quinceañera on the second floor. And I'm like, I didn't hear or see anything about that. So I don't know if that's true. And again, I would kind of like photo proof of that. The ambulances were true. That's something very, very good to talk about. The, you know, water fountains being locked off, true. Artist tables being stapled together, true. And there were the cockroach stuff. There were rumors of people like sleeping under their booths. Again, I would like proof for that. But like, there were a lot of really bad stuff then. But then when you get the over exaggerating stuff with no physical proof to back it up, or video or anything, that's when it starts getting where people don't believe people, and then it starts to become like a whole terrible thing. But yeah, I feel like I've been rambling on enough. All in all, I have to say, as of right now, out of the 5 in total I've done, this is the best con. If I had a rating system, because now that I have 5, I guess I would have to say this would be my top 5 for right now. But it's a hesitant 5, more like probably a 4.9. But yeah, like I said, I do want to go back next year if they let me after making this video. And I do want to do a lot more cons next year, but heads up, because some people have asked, I will only be doing California cons because I live in California, and more important, like Southern California, because again, something I spoke up earlier, I made $1,300 for this con, which is great. That's beautiful, but that does include my table cost, my stock cost, and stuff like that. It definitely does not cover food for travel, long-term travel, and a hotel yet. Once I've gotten to that point, then I'm more than excited to apply for out-of-state cons. But as of right now, I'm not there yet. I'm slowly getting my way, but you need to be able to pay off that stuff. So I hope you enjoyed. If you met me, hi. I hope you had fun. I hope you had fun chatting with me. And I will still be working on the con series, even though I know my convention for the year is done. But yeah, I love you guys so much. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe for more videos. I do videos every Wednesday, and I try to do my best to do vlogs every Friday or Monday. I stream a lot on Twitch. All my other social medias are in my link tree linked down below. Thank you as always to my Patreon patrons. Because of you guys, I can actually rest for a couple days, which I'm definitely doing after this video, where I'm just gonna chill out because I really need to. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.